When I opened my email on that ordinary Tuesday morning, my daughter-in-law's message stared back at me with words that sliced through my chest. "We think it's best if you don't attend Ryan's graduation party. Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable." The air vanished from my lungs as if I'd been punched. Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable. My own son's wife, telling me I wasn't welcome at my only child's milestone celebration because of how I looked. My coffee turned bitter in my mouth as I read the email again, convinced I'd misunderstood. The message was 3 paragraphs long, full of phrases like "we still value your support" and "difficult decision." But those first cutting words echoed in my mind, drowning everything else. Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable. I was 52 years old, for God's sake, not some embarrassing teenager with blue hair and face tattoos. I was Dr. Eleanor Mitchell, tenured professor at Westlake University for 18 years, published author, respected academic, and I wasn't welcome at my son's graduation party because of my appearance. My hands trembled as I set my mug down, the ceramic clinking against the countertop, coffee spilling over the rim. I felt the heat of humiliation rise from my neck to my cheeks. In the reflection of my kitchen window, I caught a glimpse of myself, the silver streaks in my dark hair that I'd stopped coloring 2 years ago, the laugh lines around my eyes, the slight softness beneath my chin that hadn't been there in my 40s. Was this what made me so visually offensive that my presence would make everyone uncomfortable? I read the email a third time, my eyes catching on new phrases. Ryan's friends' parents will be there. Important networking opportunity. First impressions matter. And then, Amanda's family has gone to considerable expense to create the right atmosphere. Amanda, my daughter-in-law, of just 8 months, 26 years old, 14 years younger than my son, and apparently now the gatekeeper to my relationship with him. The kitchen suddenly felt too warm, too small. I stood up so quickly, my chair scraped against the floor with a sound that hurt my ears. Walking to the sink, I splashed cold water on my face, not caring that my mascara would run. In the 17 years since my divorce, I'd rebuilt myself from scratch. Single mother at 35, doctorate at 40, department chair by 45. I had created a life I was proud of, a life my son Ryan had always seemed proud of too. I grabbed my phone and called Ryan immediately. The call went straight to voicemail. I texted him, "Just got Amanda's email about the graduation party. Please call me." My stomach clenched as I hit send, a physical pain that radiated through my abdomen. Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable. The words played on repeat, gaining volume with each iteration. 3 hours passed without a response. I tried to grade papers, but couldn't focus. I tried to prepare for my afternoon lecture, but the words on my notes blurred together. At 12:47 p.m., my phone finally dinged. A text from Ryan. "Sorry, Mom, really busy with finals. Amanda's handling all the party stuff. Trust her judgment on this one. Trust her judgment. Trust her judgment that I was too unsightly to attend my own son's graduation celebration." The betrayal stung worse than the original email. I felt my throat tighten, the pressure of tears building behind my eyes. I hadn't cried in public since my divorce was finalized. I wouldn't start now, sitting alone in my campus office with the door open. I closed the door, something I rarely did during office hours, and called my closest friend, Diane. When she answered, I couldn't speak. The words stuck in my throat. "Ellie, you there?" Diane's voice came through, concerned. "I'm here," I managed to say, my voice smaller than I intended. "What's wrong? You sound terrible." "The dam broke." I told her everything, reading Amanda's email verbatim, my voice cracking on those horrible words. "Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable." Diane's sharp intake of breath told me I wasn't overreacting. "That's one of the most awful things I've ever heard," she said. "What did Ryan say?" "To trust Amanda's judgment," I replied, the words still unbelievable to me. "His own mother, and he's okay with this." "He can't be," Diane insisted. "There must be more to this. Ryan adores you. apparently not enough to want me at his graduation party. "This isn't about you, Ellie," Diane said firmly. "This is about Amanda, and whatever insecurities she's projecting. You're gorgeous, brilliant, and accomplished. Anyone would be proud to have you as their mother or mother-in-law." Her words should have comforted me, but they didn't. Because if Amanda found me so visually offensive, what had she been saying to Ryan about me all these months? What subtle poison had been dripping into his ear about his aging mother? After hanging up with Diane, I did something I'd never done in my academic career. I canceled my afternoon class, sending a terse email about a family emergency. Then I drove home, my vision occasionally blurring with unshed tears. "Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable." The words had become a physical presence in my car, sitting heavy in the passenger seat. At home, I went straight to my bedroom mirror and really looked at myself. The woman staring back was one I'd come to appreciate over the years. Sure, gravity had done its work. My jawline wasn't as sharp as it once was. The skin around my eyes had thinned and creased, but I saw character in my face. The map of a life lived with passion and purpose. I'd earned every line, every silver hair. I opened my closet and surveyed my wardrobe, primarily business casual for teaching, some nicer pieces for academic conferences, comfortable clothes for weekends. Nothing flashy or inappropriate. Nothing that screamed embarrassing mother. I'd always dressed conservatively, professionally. I pulled out the outfit I'd been planning to wear to Ryan's graduation party, a knee-length navy dress with a tailored jacket, pearl earrings, low heels. Exactly the kind of thing other professors' mothers would wear. So what was it about my appearance that was so objectionable? Was it simply that I looked my age? That I hadn't surrendered to Botox and fillers and whatever else Amanda and her mother presumably did? Was my crime the fact that I was visibly 52 years old? I sat on the edge of my bed, the navy dress still in my hands, and allowed myself exactly 5 minutes to cry. The tears came hot and fast, soaking into the fabric of the dress. Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable. 5 minutes of grief for the relationship I thought I had with my son. 5 minutes of mourning for the grandmother role I might never get to play if this was how things stood. 5 minutes of pure, undiluted hurt. When my timer went off, I wiped my eyes, hung the dress back up, and washed my face. In the kitchen, I poured a glass of wine despite it being barely 3 p.m. My phone buzzed with a text from Diane, coming over at 6, bringing dinner. No arguments. I almost texted back to cancel, but stopped myself. This was exactly the moment when I needed a friend, even if every instinct told me to curl up alone and lick my wounds. Instead, I replied, "Doors open. Bring wine too." At 4:13 p.m., my phone rang. "Ryan." My heart jumped as I answered. "Mom," he said, his voice tight. "I just wanted to check that you're okay with the party arrangements." The casualness in his tone made my blood simmer. "No, Ryan, I'm not okay with being told my appearance will make people uncomfortable at my own son's graduation celebration." A pause. That's not what Amanda meant. It's exactly what she wrote." Ryan, I can forward you the email if you haven't seen it." Another pause, longer this time. She showed me. "Look, it's just that her family is very, image conscious. Her dad's a partner at his firm. Her mom's on all these charity boards. It's a whole thing with them. And I don't fit their image." I finished for him. The truth, spoken aloud, hung in the air between us. "Mom, please don't make this harder than it needs to be. It's just one party. It's your graduation party. Ryan, I've been there for every milestone in your life. I was there alone when you took your first steps because your father was too busy at the office. I was the one who drove you to every soccer practice, who stayed up helping with science fair projects, who worked 2 jobs to make sure you could go to the college of your choice. I know, Mom, and I appreciate everything you've done, but now I'm an embarrassment." I interrupted, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "Now I'm not presentable enough for your in-laws' country club friends. It's not like that. He protested weakly. What is it like then, Ryan? Explain it to me. Help me understand how my own son is okay with excluding me from his celebration because of how I look. The silence stretched so long I wondered if we'd been disconnected. Finally, he spoke. Amanda's parents are paying for everything. They've invited a lot of important people. Her dad's firm might offer me a position after graduation. There it was. The truth, ugly and bare. I was being sacrificed on the altar of Ryan's career ambitions and his new family's social climbing. I see, said, my voice now cold. Well, don't worry. I won't embarrass you by showing up where I'm not wanted. Mom, please, I have to go, Ryan. I have papers to grade. I ended the call before he could say anything else, before my composure cracked. Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable. The words had evolved now, taking on new dimensions of betrayal. This wasn't just about age or beauty standards. This was about class, about social hierarchies, about the kind of people my son had chosen to align himself with, people who judged worth by appearance, who would exclude a mother from her son's celebration because she didn't fit their aesthetic. By the time Diane arrived at 6 p.m. with Thai food and 2 bottles of wine, I'd moved beyond tears into something harder, colder. I'd spent the last hour Googling Amanda's parents, learning about her father's law firm that specialized in corporate defense, her mother's leadership roles in several elite charitable organizations. I'd found photos of them at galas and golf tournaments, expensively groomed and carefully maintained. I understood now what Amanda meant. Next to her Botoxed mother and her country club father, I, with my university salary, my sensible clothes, my natural face, would indeed look out of place. I brought drunken noodles and enough wine to solve all problems, Diane announced as she walked in, setting the bags on my kitchen counter. Then she took one look at my face and stopped. Oh, Ellie, I talked to Ryan, I said, my voice steadier than I expected. He's siding with them. It's about connections, about Amanda's father possibly offering him a job. Diane's expression hardened. So he's throwing his mother under the bus for a career opportunity. Apparently so. I reached for the wine, needing something to do with my hands. 22 years of being everything to that boy, and this is what it comes down to. Diane took the bottle from me and opened it efficiently. This is temporary insanity. He's young. He's caught up in Amanda and her family's world. He'll come to his senses. Maybe, I said, accepting the glass she handed me. But even if he does, I'll never forget this. I'll never forget reading those words. Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable. We ate dinner, and Diane did her best to distract me with department gossip and stories about her latest dating disaster. I appreciated the effort, but my mind kept circling back to the email, to Ryan's week justifications, to the graduation party that would happen without me. After Diane left, I sat alone in my living room, nursing the last of the wine. The hurt had crystallized into something else, a steely determination. I opened my laptop and began typing an email to Amanda. I wrote and deleted, trying to find the right words. Finally, I settled on brevity. Amanda, I received your email regarding Ryan's graduation party. While I respect your right to create the guest list, as you see fit, I want to be clear about one thing. My absence at this event is your choice, not mine. I would never willingly miss my son's celebration. I hope the party creates exactly the impression you're hoping for. Eleanor Mitchell, PhD Department Chair. English Literature, Westlake University. I hit send before I could reconsider, then closed my laptop. Tomorrow, I decided, I would make an appointment at an upscale salon in the city. Not because Amanda's email had made me feel inadequate, but because it had reminded me of something important. Appearances did matter. Not in the way Amanda thought, but as armor, as statement, as declaration of self-worth. Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable. The words still echoed, but now they carried a different energy. If my appearance as a confident, natural, 52-year-old accomplished woman made people uncomfortable, Perhaps the problem wasn't with my appearance at all. As I got ready for bed that night, I looked again at my reflection. The woman looking back at me had been knocked down today, but she wasn't staying down. Amanda and her family had declared war with that email, whether they realized it or not. And while they might have won this battle, keeping me from Ryan's party, they had no idea what kind of opponent they had just created. Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable. By the time I was done, those words would come back to haunt Amanda in ways she couldn't begin to imagine. The following morning, I woke up with purpose burning in my chest. I checked my phone immediately. No response from Amanda. No message from Ryan. Part of me had hoped that overnight, one or both of them would have come to their senses, would have reached out with apologies and explanations. But the screen remained stubbornly free of notifications. I got dressed for work with particular care, choosing a tailored red blazer I usually saved for important department meetings, a silk shell, and my good pearls. If I was now being judged solely on appearance, I would make sure that appearance was impeccable. In the mirror, I applied my makeup with more attention than usual, defining my eyes, adding a touch more blush, choosing a lipstick that matched my blazer exactly. Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable. I would make my appearance a statement, a declaration. At the university, I taught my morning class with extra energy, engaging my students in a vibrant discussion of Jane Austen's exploration of social hierarchies in Emma. The irony wasn't lost on me, spending my professional life analyzing the very social dynamics that were now causing such pain in my personal life. Notice how Emma's judgments about Harriet Smith are almost entirely based on appearance and perceived social standing. I told my students, rather than character or intellect, Austen is critiquing a society that values surfaces over substance, a society that hasn't changed as much as we'd like to think. I added silently, during my office hours, I made the salon appointment I'd promised myself, scheduling a complete makeover for Saturday. Cut, color, makeup consultation. The works, not because Amanda was right, but because I deserved to invest in myself, to armor myself with confidence for whatever came next. At lunch, I met Diane in the faculty dining room, where she introduced me to Patricia Henderson, a professor from the law school I'd met only in passing before. Patricia specializes in employment discrimination, Diane said meaningfully as we settled at our table. I raised an eyebrow at my friend's transparency. Subtle, Diane. Patricia smiled. Diane mentioned you're going through some family drama with ageism undertones. It happens to be a personal interest of mine, both professionally and personally. As we ate, Patricia shared her own experiences with age discrimination after turning 50, being passed over for committee chairs she was qualified for, finding herself interrupted in meetings by younger colleagues, noticing how social invitations had dwindled. The crazy thing is, I'm better at my job now than I've ever been, Patricia said, more knowledgeable, more efficient, better at mentoring students. But society tells us women have an expiration date. That's exactly it, I replied, feeling understood in a way I desperately needed. My daughter-in-law isn't just excluding me from a party. She's erasing everything I am, my accomplishments, my character, my relationship with my son, and reducing me to nothing but an aging face and body. Patricia nodded. It's dehumanizing. And the worst part is how many women internalize it. How many of us start to believe we need to disappear after a certain age? I refuse to disappear, I said firmly. Good. Patricia handed me her business card. If you ever want to talk more about any of this, personally or professionally, give me a call. I'm working on a book about gendered ageism in the workplace, and I'm always looking for more perspectives. As I walked back to my office after lunch, Patricia's card tucked safely in my wallet, I felt something I hadn't since opening Amanda's email, a sense of connection, of solidarity. I wasn't alone in this experience. What had happened to me was part of a larger pattern, a systemic problem that affected countless women. Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable. The words still hurt, but now they also angered me, not just for myself, but for every woman who had been made to feel invisible or inadequate as she aged. That afternoon, I received an email from Ryan. My heart raced as I opened it, hoping for an apology, a reversal of the party ban. Instead, I found a brief message. Mom, I saw your email to Amanda. I wish you wouldn't make this situation harder than it needs to be. Can we please just move past this? The party is what it is, but I still want you to come to the actual graduation ceremony. Amanda's parents. Reserved tickets for everyone. Let me know if you can make it. Love, Ryan. The casual tone, the complete failure to acknowledge what had happened, the assumption that I would simply fall in line, it all hit me like a physical blow. Even worse was the revelation that Amanda's parents had reserved tickets for everyone, apparently taking control of even the graduation ceremony itself. Another event where I should have been centered as Ryan's parent, not sidelined as an afterthought. I sat at my desk, staring at the email, trying to formulate a response that wouldn't permanently damage my relationship with my son, while still maintaining my dignity. After several attempts, I settled on, Ryan, of course I will attend your graduation ceremony. I wouldn't miss it for anything. However, I need you to understand that being told my appearance would make people uncomfortable at your celebration is not something I can simply move past without acknowledgement or apology. This isn't about making things difficult. It's about being treated with basic respect. I love you, and I'm incredibly proud of your accomplishments. That hasn't changed. Mom, I hit send and tried to refocus on work, but concentration eluded me. By 4:30 p.m., I gave up and headed home early, stopping at a bookstore on the way. On impulse, I purchased a stack of books, memoirs by women over 50, studies on ageism, fashion guides for women of a certain age. If I was going to fight this battle, I needed to arm myself with knowledge. At home, I changed into comfortable clothes and settled on my couch with the books and a glass of wine. I opened my laptop and began researching in earnest, reading articles about gendered ageism, joining online forums for women over 50, finding blogs about age-positive fashion and beauty. Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable. The phrase that had devastated me yesterday was transforming into something else, a catalyst, a call to action. If my appearance as a natural, confident woman of 52 made people uncomfortable, perhaps more people needed to be uncomfortable. Perhaps it was time to challenge the toxic standards that had led to that awful email. As I read deep into the night, a plan began to form, not just for how to handle Ryan's graduation, but for something bigger, something that might actually matter. By the time I finally went to bed, long past midnight, the hurt hadn't disappeared, but it had been joined by something stronger, purpose. Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable. Those words had been meant to diminish me, to push me aside, to render me invisible. Instead, they were about to make me more visible than I'd ever been before. Saturday arrived with spring sunshine streaming through my bedroom windows. I had been awake since 5:17 a.m., my mind racing with thoughts of my 9 a.m. salon appointment. Not because I was nervous, but because I was determined. This makeover wasn't about conforming to Amanda's standards, it was about reclaiming my power, about armor. At Lumiere Salon, I was greeted by a stylist named Marcus, who had the kind of confident ease that immediately put me at ease. "So," he said, looking at me through the mirror as I settled into his chair, "what are we doing today, Dr. Mitchell?" I'd explained on the phone when booking that I was a professor, and his use of my title made me sit a little straighter. "A transformation," I said, meeting his eyes in the reflection. "Something that makes a statement." Marcus nodded thoughtfully. "And what statement are we making?" I considered for a moment before answering. That I refuse to be invisible. That I'm not apologizing for my age or trying to hide it. But also that I understand the power of presentation. A slow smile spread across his face. "I love that. Let's create something that honors exactly who you are, while making sure everyone in the room notices." For the next 3 hours, Marcus and his team worked their magic. They didn't try to make me look younger. Instead, they enhanced what was already there. My silver-streaked dark hair was cut into a sophisticated, angled bob that framed my face perfectly. The makeup artist taught me techniques that defined my eyes and gave my skin a healthy glow without trying to mask my laugh lines. The stylist helped me select clothing that flattered my shape while projecting confidence and authority. When Marcus finally spun my chair around to face the full mirror, I barely recognized myself, not because I looked different, but because I looked so completely myself, confident, polished, unapologetic. "What do you think?" Marcus asked, genuine pride in his voice. "I think Amanda's family is going to be very uncomfortable," I replied with a slow smile. Marcus laughed, delighted. "Good. The world needs more gloriously uncomfortable moments." I left the salon feeling transformed. Not physically though, the haircut was spectacular, but emotionally. For the first time since reading that email, I felt fully in control again. "Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable." The words had lost their power to wound. Walking down the street toward the parking garage, I caught my reflection in store windows and barely recognized the woman staring back, straight-backed, confident, almost regal. At 52, I looked better than I had in years, not because I was trying to appear younger, but because I was finally embracing exactly who I was. My phone buzzed in my purse, a text from Ryan, "Just checking if you're coming to graduation next weekend." The casual tone still stung, but less sharply now. I typed back, "Of course, I wouldn't miss it. I'll meet you at the ceremony." Short, civil, non-confrontational. I was saving my energy for what came next. When I arrived home, I found a padded envelope on my doorstep, Patricia's book on gendered ageism that she'd mentioned during our lunch. Inside was a note: "Eleanor thought this might interest you. Let's have coffee soon. Patricia." I added it to my growing collection of research materials. Sunday morning, I met Diane for our weekly coffee. Her eyes widened as I walked into the cafe. "Holy hell, Ellie, you look amazing." "I feel amazing," I said, as I slid into the chair across from her. "This isn't about Amanda or Ryan, or trying to meet some ridiculous beauty standard. This is for me." "Well, you're glowing," Diane said. "So what's the plan for graduation?" "I'm going to attend the ceremony with dignity. I'll congratulate Ryan, meet Amanda's parents cordially, and then leave before anyone can question why I'm not attending the party." Diane frowned. "That's it. After what they did?" I smiled, sipping my coffee. "For the graduation itself, yes, that's it. But I have a larger plan brewing." "Do tell." "I've been thinking about what Patricia said about how many women are made to feel invisible after a certain age. This isn't just about me and a graduation party. It's about a systemic problem." Diane leaned forward, intrigued. "Go on." "I've been invited to give a keynote at the National Literature Association conference in July. I was planning to talk about feminist readings of 19th century novels, but I'm changing my topic. I'm going to speak about the erasure of mature women in literature and society using my personal experience as a launching point." Diane's eyes widened. "That's brilliant. It transforms something painful into something meaningful and public," I added. "The keynotes are recorded and widely shared. Amanda and her family tried to make me invisible. I'm going to make myself more visible than ever." "I love it," Diane said, raising her coffee cup in a toast to making everyone uncomfortable. I clinked my cup against hers. In all the right ways. The week leading up to Ryan's graduation passed in a blur of end-of-semester grading and preparation. I received no further communication from Ryan or Amanda, which was both a relief and a heartache. The silence revealed how easily my son had accepted my exclusion from his life's celebrations. Friday morning graduation day, I woke at dawn and dressed with deliberate care in a tailored blue dress that complemented my new haircut perfectly. I added a statement necklace, subtle makeup following the techniques I'd learned, and low heels that were both elegant and comfortable. Looking in the mirror, I saw a woman who commanded respect, a department chair, a scholar, a mother who deserved better than what she'd received. The graduation ceremony was being held in the university's main auditorium at 11 a.m., I arrived at 10:30, finding the section where family members of graduates were directed to sit. The reserved seating Amanda's parents had arranged was in the front 3 rows, prime viewing positions that I, as the mother of the graduate, should have helped organize. I spotted Ryan in his cap and gown near the stage, talking with a group of his classmates. He hadn't seen me yet. Then I noticed a cluster of well-dressed people to my right: a silver-haired man in an expensive suit, a blonde woman with the kind of cosmetically preserved face that looked both 40 and 60 simultaneously, and Amanda, wearing a pale pink dress that emphasized her youth. Amanda saw me first. I watched recognition flash across her face, followed by something that looked almost like alarm. She whispered something to the woman beside her, her mother, presumably, who turned to look at me with naked assessment in her eyes. I walked directly toward them, my head high, my pace unhurried. "You must be Amanda's parents," I said when I reached them, extending my hand. "I'm Eleanor Mitchell, Ryan's mother. It's nice to finally meet you." Amanda's father recovered first, taking my hand. "James Preston. This is my wife, Victoria." Victoria's handshake was limp, her smile tight. "Eleanor, how nice. Amanda's told us so much about you." I highly doubted that, unless so much meant that she exists and is embarrassingly old. "All good things, I hope," I replied with a warm smile that revealed nothing of my inner thoughts. "Of course," Victoria said, her eyes darting to my hair, my face, my outfit, making a swift assessment. I saw the moment she realized I wasn't what she had expected. The threat she had anticipated was more formidable than she'd been led to believe. Amanda shifted uncomfortably beside her mother. "Dr. Mitchell, I'm glad you could make it to the ceremony." Dr. Mitchell, not Eleanor, not even Ryan's mom. The formality was a wall she was trying to maintain. "I wouldn't miss it," I said simply. "Ryan has worked so hard for this day." James Preston nodded. "He's a bright young man. Has a promising future ahead of him." "Yes," I agreed, "he does. I'm very proud of everything he's accomplished." An awkward silence fell. I could see Amanda struggling with the fact that I wasn't fitting her narrative. I wasn't the embarrassing, frumpy mother she had described to her parents. I wasn't making a scene about being excluded from the party. I was being gracious, dignified, and most importantly, I looked good. Not young, but polished, professional, and confident. Ryan spotted us and hurried over, his face a mix of relief and anxiety. "Mom, you made it." He hugged me briefly, then turned to the Prestons. "I see you've all met. We were just getting acquainted," I said smoothly. Ryan's eyes widened slightly as he really looked at me. "You look different, Mom. Did you change your hair?" "Just a little refresh," I replied, touching my new bob lightly. "For spring, it looks really nice," he said, genuine surprise in his voice. Had he really expected his mother to show up looking so objectionable that Amanda's exclusion would be justified? "Thank you, honey. Are you nervous about the ceremony?" We chatted for a few minutes about the graduation proceedings before an announcement asked all graduates to take their places. Ryan hugged his in-laws, then me. Before hurrying back to join his classmates, I could feel Amanda's eyes on me, reassessing, recalculating. "Shall we find our seats?" James suggested, gesturing to the front rows. "Of course," I replied. "I believe you arranged the seating." Victoria nodded. "Yes, we have the entire second row. You're welcome to join us." The welcome was clearly an afterthought, an obligation now that I had presented myself so unexpectedly. I noticed she didn't include me in "we have the entire second row." "How thoughtful," I said. "Thank you." We made our way to the reserved seats. I found myself sitting between Victoria and an older man who was introduced as James's law partner. Throughout the ceremony, I could feel Victoria glancing at me, no doubt trying to reconcile the polished woman beside her with whatever unflattering description Amanda had provided. When Ryan's name was called and he walked across the stage to receive his diploma, I felt a swell of pride so intense it momentarily pushed aside all the hurt of the past 2 weeks. That was my son, the boy I had raised alone, now a college graduate with his whole future ahead of him. I applauded loudly, genuinely happy for him, despite everything. After the ceremony, we gathered outside for photos. I stood slightly apart, not wanting to insert myself where I wasn't wanted, but Ryan surprised me by putting his arm around my shoulders. "Mom, come get in the pictures." As the professional photographer Amanda's parents had hired, arranged us in various groupings, I maintained my composure, smiling when appropriate, making polite conversation. Not once did anyone mention the party scheduled for that evening at the country club. The absence hung between us, an unacknowledged elephant. Finally, as the photo session wound down, Ryan approached me. "Mom, I want to talk to you about tonight." I held up a hand to stop him. "It's okay, Ryan, I understand the situation. Today is about celebrating your achievement, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm very proud of you." Confusion crossed his face. "But we can talk more later," I said gently. "Right now, you should enjoy your day with Amanda and her family." I hugged him, whispering, "I love you, Ryan," before stepping back. As I walked to my car, I felt Victoria Preston's eyes following me. "Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable." The irony was rich. I had made them uncomfortable, but not in the way Amanda had feared. I had made them uncomfortable with my dignity, my confidence, and my refusal to be the embarrassing older woman they had expected. In my car, I allowed myself a moment of satisfaction. Phase 1 of my plan had gone perfectly. I had shown up not as a victim, but as a force to be reckoned with. And that was just the beginning. Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable. Those words would prove prophetic, but not in the way Amanda had intended. I was just getting started. The Monday after graduation, I returned to campus with renewed purpose. The semester was winding down, final papers were flooding in, and the administrative work of closing out the academic year loomed large. Normally, these end-of-term tasks would have felt burdensome, but today they offered welcome distraction from the hollow ache that had settled in my chest since Friday. I hadn't heard from Ryan all weekend. No thank you for coming to graduation. No acknowledgement of our stilted interaction with Amanda's family. Nothing. The silence spoke volumes. While I had maintained my dignity at the ceremony, the reality remained. My son had allowed me to be excluded from his celebration, had watched me walk away alone while he went off to a party I wasn't welcome to attend. At my office, I found Patricia Henderson waiting outside my door, 2 coffee cups in hand. "I come bearing caffeine and curiosity," she said, offering me one of the cups. "Got a minute?" I unlocked my office and gestured her inside. "For coffee and good company, always." Once settled, Patricia leaned forward. "So, how did it go?" I gave her the highlights of graduation day, my strategic makeover. The Prestons' barely concealed surprise, Amanda's discomfort, Ryan's conflicted reactions. "Brilliant," Patricia said when I finished. "You showed up as your best self without giving them the satisfaction of seeing you hurt. It felt good in the moment, I admitted, but the aftermath is still, difficult. Ryan hasn't called. I wasn't at his party. Nothing's really changed." Patricia nodded thoughtfully. "Change takes time. But speaking of change, I actually came by for another reason. I'm putting together a panel for the Faculty Development Conference in August on invisible academics, age and gender, discrimination in higher education. I'd love for you to participate." I raised my eyebrows, because of what happened with Ryan. "Partially," she acknowledged. "Your experience is unfortunately common. Women being erased or devalued because of age happens everywhere, not just in family dynamics, but also because you're respected in your field, articulate, and clearly not afraid to challenge these toxic norms." The invitation resonated with the new purpose I'd been cultivating since Amanda's email. "I'd be honored," I said. "Though I should warn you, I'm also changing my keynote topic for the NLA conference to address similar themes." Patricia grinned. "Even better. Consider it practice." She pulled out her planner. "The panel is August 17th. For speakers, 20 minutes each, followed by Q&A. As we discussed logistics, my phone buzzed with a text. I glanced down, half hoping it was Ryan. Instead, I saw Diane's name. Lunch today. Have gossip about the Prestons you won't believe. My pulse quickened. Sorry, I told Patricia. I should respond to this. No problem, Patricia said, standing. I'll email you the panel details. And Eleanor, what you're doing matters. It's bigger than one party or one thoughtless daughter-in-law. After Patricia left, I texted Diane confirming lunch at our usual spot at 12:30. The morning crawled by as I graded papers with half my attention, the other half wondering what Diane had discovered about Amanda's family. At Sherardan Archetifin, I arrived at Caf Louisa to find Diane already waiting, practically vibrating with contained information. As soon as I sat down, she leaned forward. You will never guess who I played tennis with yesterday. Serena Williams. Ha, better. Caroline Matthews, whose husband works at Preston Whitmore and Associates James Preston's firm. My heart beat faster. Amanda's father's law firm. Exactly. Diane's eyes gleamed. And apparently, Carolyn knows Victoria Preston from their country club. They're on the same charity committee. Small world, I murmured. Microscopic. Diane agreed. So we're playing doubles, and afterward we're having drinks. And Caroline mentions this graduation party she attended Saturday night at Lakeview Country Club. I steeled myself. Ryan's party. The very one. She had no idea of my connection to you. She was just chatting about weekend social events. Diane paused as our server arrived with water. After he left, she continued. Caroline said it was beautiful, but strange the graduate himself seemed uncomfortable the whole time, and there was some tension between him and his new wife. A small, petty part of me felt vindicated that Ryan had been uncomfortable at the party that excluded his mother. The larger part ached. Knowing he had been unhappy? There's more. Diane continued. Victoria Preston was apparently overheard in the ladies' room complaining to another woman about the mother. That's you and how you weren't what they expected. What they expected. According to Caroline, Victoria said, and I quote, Amanda made her sound like some dowdy academic stereotype, but she looked more put together than half the women at the club. Diane's smile was triumphant. Your makeover threw them completely. Off script, I absorbed this, emotions swirling, so Amanda had painted me as some embarrassing frump to justify excluding me. Exactly, and when you showed up looking fabulous, it made their exclusion look even more transparently cruel. Diane reached for her water. There's one more thing. Caroline mentioned that James Preston is known for being particular about appearances. His firm has faced several discrimination lawsuits over the years, nothing that stuck, but enough smoke to suggest fire. What kind of discrimination? Primarily age and gender. They have a pattern of pushing out female associates as they get older, while promoting younger men. Diane's expression hardened. The Preston's country club world runs on very specific, very toxic standards, especially for women. This new information crystallized something I'd been feeling since graduation day. This wasn't just about me. Amanda's email, your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable, reflected larger systemic issues, the same issues Patricia was addressing in her research, the same issues that affected countless women. I've been invited to join a panel on age discrimination in academia, I told Diane. Perfect timing, she replied. Are you going to mention what happened with Ryan and Amanda? I'm considering it, I said. It's personal, but it's also illustrative of broader patterns. Diane nodded. Just be prepared. Going public means you can't control how the story spreads. Her warning stayed with me through the afternoon as I finished grading papers and prepared for my last class session of the semester. By 5 p.m., I was mentally exhausted and heading to my car when my phone rang. Ryan, my hand trembled slightly as I answered. Hello, Mom. Ryan's voice sounded strained. Do you have a minute to talk? Of course, I replied, unlocking my car and sliding into the driver's seat for privacy. How are you? I don't know. He sighed heavily. Things are weird with Amanda. Since the party, I'm sorry to hear that, I said neutrally, unwilling to make this easier for him. She's upset because she thinks you deliberately tried to make her look bad at graduation. I gripped the steering wheel with my free hand. By showing up looking presentable. By showing up looking like, I don't know, different than she described to her parents. His frustration was audible. She said you were trying to embarrass her. Ryan, I said, keeping my voice steady, I was uninvited from my only child's graduation celebration because my appearance was deemed potentially uncomfortable for strangers. Exactly how was I supposed to respond to that? Silence stretched between us. Finally, he spoke, his voice small. I know it was wrong. The party was ... It wasn't even fun. I kept thinking about you sitting at home alone. I wasn't sitting at home alone, I said. I had dinner with colleagues. A small lie, but my pride demanded it. In truth, I had ordered takeout and watched old movies, trying not to think about the celebration happening without me. Oh, that's good. Another pause. Mom, I messed up. I shouldn't have let Amanda exclude you. The apology I had been waiting for, hoping for, finally arriving. But it felt insufficient, too little too late. No, you shouldn't have, I agreed. I got caught up in trying to impress her parents, in fitting into their world. His voice cracked slightly. But at the party, looking around at all these people, I barely knew. People who were there because of connections or status. It felt empty. I softened slightly. Ryan, what's really going on here? This isn't just about one party. I don't know, he admitted. Everything moved so fast with Amanda. We got married after only dating 8 months. Her world is so different from ours, the country club, her dad's firm, all of it. Sometimes I feel like I'm playing a role. And where do I fit into this new life you're building? I asked, the question that had been haunting me since that awful email. Another long silence. I don't know that either, he finally said. Amanda has ... strong opinions about family dynamics, about appearances, about everything, strong enough opinions to cut your mother out of your life. The hurt seeped into my voice despite my efforts to contain it. No, that's not. He stopped. I don't want that. I miss how things used to be between us. Things change, Ryan. You're building a new life, making choices about what matters to you. Those choices have consequences. What does that mean? I took a deep breath. It means I love you, but I won't be treated as an embarrassment or an inconvenience. It means I won't pretend the exclusion didn't hurt just to make things comfortable for you or Amanda. I know. You're right. He sounded defeated. What do we do now? That depends on what you want, I said, and what you're willing to do to repair the damage. Could we have dinner this week? Just you and me. It was a small olive branch, but a genuine one. Yes, I said. I'd like that. We arranged to meet Wednesday evening at a neutral restaurant downtown. After we hung up, I sat in my car for several minutes, processing the conversation. Ryan's apology was a start, but the underlying issues remained. Amanda's attitudes, her parents' influence, Ryan's willingness to please them at my expense, none of that had fundamentally changed. That evening, I worked on my revised keynote speech for the conference, tentatively titled The Erasure of Mature Women, Literature, Society, and Personal Experience. As I wrote, weaving together literary analysis, social critique, and carefully selected details from my own recent experience, I felt a growing sense of purpose. What had happened to me was personal, but it wasn't unique. By speaking about it publicly, I could potentially help other women feeling the same invisibility, the same erasure. I was mid-paragraph when my email chimed with a message from Patricia, outlining the Faculty Development Conference panel and introducing the other participants. One name jumped out at me, Victoria Hamilton, Director of Human Resources at Brighton University, one of the most prestigious schools in our state and, if memory served, where Amanda's father had completed his law degree. The connection gave me pause. If I spoke publicly about what had happened with Amanda and the Prestons, would it impact Ryan in ways I hadn't anticipated? James. Preston was clearly influential in circles that might affect my son's career. Was I risking Ryan's professional future by turning our personal conflict into a public statement? I closed my laptop, suddenly uncertain. The path forward had seemed so clear: reclaim my narrative, speak truth to power, transform personal hurt into meaningful advocacy. But real life was messier, the potential consequences more far-reaching. Wednesday's dinner with Ryan loomed larger now. We needed to have an honest conversation, not just about hurt feelings and inadequate apologies, but about the future, about boundaries, about what kind of relationship was possible given the realities of his new life with Amanda. Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable. The words that had launched this journey still echoed, but now they carried new complexity. In making myself visible, in refusing erasure, was I unwittingly causing harm to the person I loved most in the world? As I finally went to bed that night, I realized I had reached a crucial juncture. The coming days would require careful navigation, thoughtful choices about when to speak and when to remain silent, when to push forward and when to pull back. The path of empowerment wasn't as straightforward as I had initially believed. But then, nothing worthwhile ever was. Wednesday evening arrived with a gentle spring rain that painted the city streets in reflective silver. I arrived at Bellini's, the upscale Italian restaurant Ryan had chosen. 15 minutes early. I wanted time to compose myself, to ensure I wasn't walking into this conversation from a place of raw emotion. The hostess led me to a quiet corner table where I ordered a glass of Pinot Noir and rehearsed what I wanted to say to my son. This wasn't just about one party or one hurtful email anymore. It was about establishing the framework for our relationship moving forward, about clarifying boundaries and expectations. At 7:03 p.m., Ryan arrived, looking both familiar and somehow different, in his charcoal suit, a graduation gift from Amanda's parents. I suspected, given its obvious quality and perfect tailoring, he'd never cared much about designer clothes during his years with me. "Mom," he said, leaning down to kiss my cheek. "You look nice." "Thank you," I replied, noting the surprise that still flickered in his eyes when he looked at my new hairstyle, my carefully chosen outfit. "How are you?" "Busy," he said, settling into the seat across from me. "I started at Mr. Preston's firm on Monday. Just basic research and document review for now, but it's a foot in the door." So James Preston had indeed offered him a position. The information landed with complicated weight. "Congratulations," I said, meaning it despite my mixed feelings about the Prestons. "That's a prestigious start to your career." Ryan nodded, a hint of pride breaking through his cautious demeanor. "The hours are brutal, but the experience is invaluable." We ordered our meals, dancing around the real conversation with small talk about his first days at work, my end of semester grading marathon, the unseasonably warm spring. Finally, as our entrees arrived, Ryan set down his fork and looked at me directly. "Mom, I've been thinking a lot about what happened with the graduation party," he began. "I handled it badly. I should have stood up for you." I took a sip of wine, giving myself a moment. "Yes, you should have. I got caught up in trying to please everyone, Amanda, her parents, you, and ended up pleasing no one." He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture he'd had since childhood. "Amanda and I have been arguing about it since the party. She thinks I'm not supporting her, and I think she was wrong to exclude you." "And where do things stand now?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. Ryan sighed, tense. "We're trying to work through it. She doesn't understand why I'm making such a big deal about it. And do you understand why it is a big deal?" He met my eyes. "I do now. Seeing you at graduation, watching how Amanda's parents treated you, how uncomfortable everyone was. It made me realize how messed up the whole situation was." He paused. "I'm sorry, Mom, really sorry." The apology felt genuine this time, not the half-hearted acknowledgement from our phone call. "Thank you," I said simply. "The thing is," he continued, pushing his pasta around his plate, "I'm in a complicated position. Mr. Preston is my boss now. Amanda is my wife, but you're My mother. And those relationships shouldn't be in conflict, I pointed out. That's the problem, Ryan. In a healthy family dynamic, you wouldn't have to choose. He nodded slowly. I know. Amanda has some issues around appearance and status. Her mother is pretty extreme about it too. The whole family is obsessed with image. That doesn't excuse what happened. No, it doesn't. He agreed quickly. I'm not justifying it, just trying to explain where it came from. He hesitated. Mr. Preston made a comment after graduation about how you weren't what they expected. He seemed almost, I don't know, impressed. Like you had passed some test you weren't supposed to know about. The confirmation of what Diane had reported sent a chill through me. I wasn't there to pass their tests. Ryan, I was there for you. I know. Shame colored his features. That's what makes it worse. You've always been there for me. And the one time you needed me to stand up for you, I failed. The naked honesty in his voice softened something in me. This was my son, the boy I'd raised alone, now struggling with adult complexities. We all fail sometimes, I said gently. The question is what we learn from it, and what we do next. That's what I want to talk about, what we do next. Ryan set his fork down. I want to fix this, Mom. I want us to be okay. I want that too, I said. But it requires some changes, some boundaries. Like what? I took a deep breath. Like respect. I won't be treated as an embarrassment or an inconvenience by anyone, including Amanda. I won't pretend everything's fine when it isn't. And I expect you to make it clear to both Amanda and her parents that I'm an important part of your life, who deserves basic courtesy. Ryan nodded. That's fair. Completely fair. It also means acknowledging that what happened wasn't a simple misunderstanding or miscommunication. It was hurtful and discriminatory. He winced at discriminatory but didn't argue. I understand, and I agree. Good, I took another sip of wine. There's something else you should know. I've been invited to participate in an academic panel on age discrimination in higher education. I'm also changing my keynote topic for the National Literature Association conference to address related themes. Ryan's expression shifted from openness to wariness. Because of what happened with Amanda. Partly, I acknowledged. The experience made me realize how prevalent these issues are. How many women feel erased or devalued as they age. It's something I want to speak about professionally. Will you be talking about what happened? About us? The anxiety in his voice was palpable. This was the complicated territory I'd been wrestling with since Patricia's invitation. I'm still deciding how much of my personal experience to share, I said honestly. I would never use your or Amanda's names. Of course. Ryan looked down at his plate. Mr. Preston is really big on family privacy and image. The unspoken request hung in the air. Please don't do anything that might jeopardize my new job. My relationship with my in-laws. I understand your concern, I said carefully, and I'll take it into consideration. But Ryan, I need you to understand something too. What happened to me isn't just personal, it's part of a broader pattern that affects many women. Speaking about it has value. I get that, he said, though his expression suggested he didn't fully. Just please, be careful about details that might be identifiable. I nodded, though a part of me resented having to protect the very people who had hurt me. I'll be thoughtful about it. The rest of dinner passed more comfortably as we tacitly agreed to set the difficult conversation aside. Ryan told me about his new apartment with Amanda. I shared department gossip, and for brief stretches, it almost felt like old times. Almost. As we waited for the check, Ryan hesitated, then said, Amanda asked if you'd be willing to have lunch with her next week. Just the two of you. I raised my eyebrows, genuinely surprised. Did she say why? She wants to clear the air. Her words. Ryan shrugged. I think she realizes she handled things badly, and wants to make amends. Or, I thought but didn't say. She's worried about what I might say publicly, and wants to contain the damage. Either way, the invitation was unexpected. I'll think about it, I said, unwilling to commit on the spot. Tell her to email me. Directly, Ryan nodded, relief evident in his expression. Thanks, Mom. It would mean a lot to me if you two could find some way to get along. Get along. As if our conflict had been a simple personality clash rather than a pointed rejection based on my age and appearance. But I held my tongue. This dinner had been a step forward, imperfect as it was. I didn't want to end on a sour note. Outside the restaurant, under the awning that sheltered us from the light rain, Ryan hugged me tightly. I love you, Mom. I'm sorry I lost sight of what matters. I hugged him back, inhaling the unfamiliar cologne that was yet another small marker of his new life. I love you too, Ryan, always. As I drove home, emotions swirled through me, relief at the steps toward reconciliation, lingering hurt that still needed healing, anxiety about Amanda's lunch invitation, and uncertainty about how to proceed with my academic presentations on ageism. The following morning, I found an email from Amanda in my inbox. Dr. Mitchell, Ryan mentioned he spoke with you about the possibility of us having lunch next week to discuss recent events. I'd like to apologize in person for the graduation party situation and clear up any misunderstandings. Would Tuesday at 1 p.m. at Cafe Louisa work for you? Amanda Preston Mitchell. The formal tone, the careful phrasing, the graduation party situation, rather than my hurtful email or excluding you, all suggested this was more damage control than genuine reconciliation. Still, it was an opening, a chance to establish direct communication without Ryan as the go-between. I replied with equal formality, confirming the date and time. Later that day, I met with Patricia to discuss the Faculty Development Conference panel. As we reviewed the format and themes, I broached my concerns. I'm wrestling with how much of my personal experience to share, I admitted. The situation with my daughter-in-law is a perfect case study in gendered ageism, but speaking about it publicly could have repercussions for my son. Patricia considered this thoughtfully. That's always the challenge with personal narrative in academic discourse. There's power in specificity, but also risk. My son works for my daughter-in-law's father now, I explained. A man who apparently places enormous value on image and family privacy. Patricia nodded. Complicated. Indeed, I sighed. Part of me feels I should protect Ryan by keeping the details vague. Another part feels that's exactly the kind of silencing that perpetuates these problems. Women staying quiet to avoid rocking the boat. What if you developed a composite? Patricia suggested. Draw from your experience but blend it with other examples so no single incident is identifiable. The idea had merit. I could incorporate research, bring in other women's stories alongside my own. Exactly. It maintains the emotional impact while providing some distance. As I left Patricia's office, I felt more settled about my approach to the panel and keynote. I could speak truth about systemic issues without potentially harming Ryan's career or new marriage, imperfect as it was. That evening, I worked on my presentation, carefully crafting a narrative that wove together literary analysis, sociological research, and thoughtfully anonymized personal experience. By the time I went to bed, I had a solid outline that felt both academically rigorous and emotionally honest. The next morning brought another surprise: an email from Victoria Preston, Amanda's mother. Dr. Mitchell, James and I would like to invite you to dinner at our home next Friday evening at 7 p.m. We feel it's important for our families to develop a better relationship given Ryan and Amanda's marriage. Please let me know if you can attend. Best regards, Victoria Preston. I stared at the screen, reading the message 3 times to ensure I hadn't misunderstood. First Amanda's lunch invitation, now dinner with the Prestons. Something had shifted in their calculus. As I contemplated how to respond, my phone rang. Diane, have you heard the latest Preston gossip? She asked without preamble. If you mean the dinner invitation from Victoria Preston that just landed in my inbox. Yes? What? No, not that. Diane's voice crackled with excitement. Caroline Matthews called me this morning. Apparently, Brighton University is investigating James Preston's firm for discriminatory hiring practices. The law school Dean, remember Victoria Hamilton from Patricia's panel? She's involved somehow. The pieces clicked into place with dizzying speed. Victoria Hamilton, Director of HR at Brighton University. The panel on age discrimination in academia. James Preston's law firm, and its history of discrimination cases. My own academic focus on these issues. They think I'm connected to the investigation, I said, the realization dawning. They're trying to find out what I know, or influence what I might say. Bingo, Diane confirmed. Suddenly the mother-in-law they didn't want at the graduation party is someone they need to court. The irony was almost too perfect. Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable had transformed into your knowledge, might make everyone uncomfortable. As I hung up with Diane, promising to fill her in after my lunch with Amanda, I felt a strange calm settle over me. The power dynamics had shifted, but not because of my makeover or my dignity at graduation. They had shifted because of my professional position, my academic voice, the very things Amanda and her family had dismissed. Tuesday's lunch loomed with new significance. What exactly did Amanda want to clear up? How much did she know about the Brighton University investigation? And most importantly, how would I use this unexpected leverage to reshape my relationship with my son's new family? Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable. Those words had launched me on this journey, but they no longer defined it. Now, I moved forward not as a wounded mother seeking redress, but as a professional with power of my own, the power of voice, of platform, of experience, and I intended to use it wisely. Caf Louisa at Tuesday lunchtime was bustling with its usual mix of academics and downtown professionals. I arrived 10 minutes early, selecting a table in the corner that offered both privacy and a clear view of the entrance. I wanted to observe Amanda's approach, to read her body language. Before she had a chance to compose herself at the table, I'd dressed with particular care in a tailored navy pantsuit that projected authority without trying too hard. My hair was freshly trimmed, my minimal makeup precisely applied. I was no longer reacting to Amanda's judgment. I was setting my own terms for this encounter. At 1:03 p.m., Amanda walked in, scanning the cafe with nervous energy. She wore an expensive-looking cream blouse and pencil skirt, her blonde hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail. When she spotted me, a flicker of something surprise, perhaps, or recalculation crossed her face before she composed her features into a polite smile. "Dr. Mitchell," she said, sliding into the seat across from me. "Thank you for meeting me." "Eleanor is fine," I replied evenly. "We are family, after all." Amanda nodded, a hint of color touching her cheeks. "Eleanor, yes, of course." The server appeared to take our orders. I chose a salad and iced tea. Amanda requested just sparkling water. Once we were alone again, she folded her hands on the table, clearly having rehearsed what came next. "I want to apologize for the graduation party situation," she began. My email was poorly worded and gave the wrong impression. I waited, saying nothing, refusing to make this easier for her. What I meant was, well, my parents can be very judgmental about appearances, and I was trying to spare you their scrutiny. Her voice had a practiced quality that suggested she'd refine this explanation with Ryan's input. "That's interesting," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "Because the email specifically stated that my appearance would make everyone uncomfortable. Not that I might be uncomfortable." Amanda shifted in her seat. "I expressed myself badly. English writing has never been my strength." A weak excuse from someone married to an English professor's son. "Let's be clear," I said, meeting her gaze directly. "You excluded me from my only child's graduation celebration because you thought I wouldn't meet your parents' standards for appearance. Whether you were trying to protect me or them is irrelevant. The exclusion happened, and it was hurtful." Her composure faltered momentarily. "I realize now it was a mistake." "A mistake," I echoed. "Is that what your father calls it when his firm systematically pushes out female employees over 40? A mistake." The color drained from Amanda's face. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I think you do," I replied. Calmly, Brighton University is investigating Preston, Whitmore, and Associates for discriminatory hiring and promotion practices, specifically age and gender discrimination, something your family seems to have strong views about. Amanda's fingers tightened around her water glass. Those accusations are unfounded. My father runs an ethical practice. I'm sure the investigation will determine that, I said. But it's an interesting coincidence, isn't it? First, I'm too embarrassing to attend a party, then suddenly your mother is inviting me to dinner. That has nothing to do with any investigation, Amanda insisted, though her voice lacked conviction. We genuinely want to improve family relations, after deliberately damaging them. That's quite a reversal. Our food arrived, creating a momentary reprieve from the tension. Amanda hadn't touched her water, her earlier hunger apparently forgotten. I took a bite of my salad, refusing to let the confrontation affect my appetite. What do you want? Amanda finally asked, her carefully constructed script abandoned. To punish us. To embarrass my family. I set down my fork. What I want is simple. Respect. For myself, and for all women who are devalued and erased as they age. I don't need to punish you, Amanda. The world already does that to women who build their worth on youth and appearance alone. Her eyes widened slightly at the directness of my response. I'm participating in academic panels and giving keynotes on gendered ageism, I continued. Not to target your family, but because it's an important issue that affects countless women, including you, eventually. So you're not involved with the investigation of my father's firm? The question revealed her real concern. The reason for this lunch? No, I said truthfully. I learned about it yesterday, but it doesn't surprise me, given your family's attitudes. Amanda seemed to deflate slightly, relief mixing with lingering wariness. My father is very concerned about the firm's reputation? I imagine he is. I took a sip of tea. Just as I'm concerned about my son's happiness and my own dignity. Ryan has been different since graduation, Amanda admitted, distant, critical of things he never questioned before. Growth often happens through discomfort, I observed. Ryan is navigating complex loyalties and values. It's not easy for him. Amanda studied me with new assessment in her eyes. You're not what I expected. No, I agreed. I'm not, and perhaps that's the problem. Your expectations about older women shaped by your parents, by society, didn't leave room for someone like me. Our conversation shifted then, not to friendship by any means, but to something more honest. Amanda spoke about the pressure she'd always felt from her parents about appearance and status. I shared some of my experiences navigating academia as a woman moving through her 40s into her 50s. We found no easy resolution, no sudden bond, but perhaps the beginning of understanding. As we prepared to leave, I addressed the elephant still looming between us. About your mother's dinner invitation. Will you come? Amanda asked, a hint of genuine curiosity in her voice. Yes, I decided, but with conditions. I won't be treated as an afterthought or an obligation. I'm Ryan's mother, a professional in my field, and a woman deserving of basic respect. Amanda nodded slowly. That's fair. I'll make sure my parents understand. We parted. With no hugs, no false warmth, but perhaps a foundation for something workable moving forward. Friday evening's dinner at the Preston home unfolded with stiff politeness, masking obvious tension. James Preston, unsurprisingly, steered the conversation toward safe topics: Rhiann's promising start at the firm, Amanda's charity committee work, the unseasonably warm weather. Victoria Preston watched me carefully throughout the meal, clearly trying to reconcile the polished, articulate woman at her table with whatever unflattering picture Amanda had initially painted. I maintained my composure, engaging pleasantly while yielding no ground. When James inevitably probed about my academic work, fishing for information about what I might know regarding the I described my upcoming panels and keynotes on gendered ageism with calm authority. Fascinating topic, he said with forced casualness, though I imagine it's difficult to quantify such subjective experiences. On the contrary, I replied, the data is quite robust. Brighton University's Human Resources Department has done particularly groundbreaking work in documenting age and gender discrimination patterns in professional settings. The meaningful glance that passed between James and Victoria confirmed what I already suspected. They were deeply concerned about the investigation and my potential connection to it. By evening's end, an unspoken understanding had been established. The Prestons would treat me with respect and include me appropriately in family events. I would maintain professional discretion about their firm's troubles. Not a friendship, not even a true reconciliation, but a workable détente. 3 months later, I delivered my keynote address at the National Literature Association conference. Standing at the podium before hundreds of colleagues, I spoke about the erasure of mature women in literature and society, weaving together academic analysis, research data, and carefully anonymized personal experience. The phrase that launched my investigation, I told the audience, was "your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable." Words directed at me personally that reflected broader cultural attitudes about aging women, that we should be invisible, that our very presence disrupts social comfort, that our value diminishes with our youth. In the third row, I spotted Ryan and, surprisingly, Amanda. Both had asked to attend after reading my draft. Ryan's eyes shone with unmistakable pride. Amanda's expression was more complex, thoughtful, perhaps even receptive. The investigation into Preston, Whitmore and Associates had resulted in a confidential settlement and mandatory diversity training. James had been noticeably more subdued at our monthly family dinners, while Victoria had surprised everyone by quietly removing her decades of Botox and fillers, allowing her natural appearance to emerge gradually. As for Ryan and Amanda, they were in counseling, working through the values dissonance that had emerged during the graduation party debacle. Their marriage was strained but evolving. Ryan had found his voice, setting clearer boundaries with both his in-laws and his wife. Amanda was slowly, fitfully, questioning the appearance-obsessed value system she'd been raised in. My relationship with my son had healed, not perfectly, not completely, but substantially. The hurt of exclusion hadn't vanished, but it had transformed into something unexpectedly valuable, a catalyst for growth, for advocacy, for authenticity. When we accept the erasure of mature women, I concluded my keynote, we lose not just their wisdom and contributions, but their very humanity. The antidote is visibility, voice, and the courage to make others uncomfortable with our continued presence and relevance. The applause was thunderous. As I stepped away from the podium, I caught Amanda's eye. She nodded once, a gesture of acknowledgement, perhaps even respect. Your appearance might make everyone uncomfortable. The words that had once wounded me had become my strength, my purpose, my platform. They had led me not to bitterness or revenge, but to advocacy and authenticity. In refusing to be erased, I had found not just my voice but my power, and perhaps helped others find theirs as well. Sometimes, I reflected as I accepted congratulations from colleagues, making people uncomfortable is exactly what's needed for real change to begin.